Hello everyone, Gravel here, with the third episode of Bow Theory, where I teach you melee noobs how to adapt. If you haven't seen the first two episodes, then I'm afraid you'll have to watch them before this video, as we will be building upon what we learned in these episodes. A link to the whole series can be found in the description below. For those of you who watched the previous episodes, you should remember that this is the order I'll be covering each element in. So, once I grab a bow and some arrows, we can get into damage. But before we start, I must stress that damage, big D, and how much damage, little d, your bow does are two completely different things. So I'll refer to damage, little d, as dinging instead. So, for example, if I shoot someone in Champions and I get the number 8, then I ding them for 8. Okay, moving on to damage. Your damage is the rate at which you take health away from your target whilst shooting at them. It can be calculated with the formula net health lost of your target divided by the time you spent charging your bow. So, if Steve's head has 20 health, and I spend 2 seconds charging my bow, then fire an arrow that kills him, my damage is 20 divided by 2, which is 10. If I repeat this with the same charge time, but it takes 2 arrows, so 2, 1, 2, then my damage is 20 divided by brackets 2 times 2, close brackets, which is 5. Now, you may be wondering why only the charge time matters, and not the time the arrow spends in the air. To explain why this is irrelevant, I have created another simulation. Imagine the minecarts are arrows. As they travel along the right rail, this represents them being charged in the bow. As they reach here, it represents the bow being fired. As they travel along the left rail, this represents the arrow moving through the air, and when they reach Steve's head, this represents them hitting the target. Now you'll see, if you charge each arrow for 2 seconds before firing it, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, then they'll arrive at their target at 2-second intervals. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And we don't care about the flight time of the first arrow, because you haven't started dealing damage yet. This shows us that the amount of time you spend charging your bow is the rate your arrows will arrive at, so the flight time doesn't matter. Let's move on to the factors that affect your damage. How long you charge your bow for is one of the most important factors that controls how fast your arrows will fly. The faster an arrow flies, the more it dings for, which increases the net health loss, and therefore your damage. However, the longer you charge your bow for, the longer the charge time is, so it also decreases your damage. This means there is an optimum time to charge your bow for, so let's try and find it. If I charge my bow for the minimum realistic time, around half a second, each arrow will deal 1 health for around a grand total of 2 damage, which is the equivalent of punching him. So I don't want to see any of you lot trying to kill someone this way. On the other hand, if I charge my bow for 4 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, each arrow will deal 8 health for a grand total of 2 damage again. So don't continue charging your bow once it has been fully charged. Now, I'll tell you right now that the optimum time is 1.2 seconds according to various sources on the internet, which looks like this. So try to get as close to the optimum time as possible. For the rest of the factors, I'll need some help from my good old friend Ace. Now, last time I made a bit of a mistake. You see, after every demonstration I retrieved him, apart from the one where I pushed him into he walked into lava of his own free will, which was ironically about paying attention. So now he's got no flesh, but he watched the previous episodes, so he can use a bow now. Here's Ace. Anyway, I feel kind of guilty, so I built him this reflesherizer to restore him to his former glory. So I'll just pop him in here so that he can get better whilst he does the demonstration. To start off with, this is the amount of damage Ace does. Wow. Quite a lot. If I put on some knight armor, you'll see that my net health loss is lower, so his damage has decreased. Come on, Ace. And so on. If I use a skill which reduces how much damage his arrows ding for example, defensive stance, his damage will again decrease. If I increase the rate my health regenerates at with a skill, e.g. a fortitude, or with suits, his damage will again decrease. Now, if I use all three, you will see there is no net health loss, so his damage is 0. Interestingly, if Ace misses arrows, then he'll have to fire more arrows to make up for them. Since your accuracy and prediction are what allow you to land arrows. This means that your damage is directly proportional to them. If Ace lands 0 arrows, his damage will be 0. Yeah, it's not so fun, is it? So it's entirely possible an assassin who blinds you and teleports around the place can reduce your damage as much as a knight can. Speaking of crazy scenarios, imagine if there was a class which could do tons of knockback to ruin your accuracy, had tons of mobility to ruin your prediction, and had better armor than a knight. Imagine trying to fight 2 of them with an assassin on your back and a ranger shooting you. Anyway, we're here to talk about damage, not torture, so let's move on. Alright, I might want to do this. Obviously, if you increase the amount your arrow dings for without increasing its charge time, your damage will increase. You can do this normally by reducing the drag your arrow experiences. So, don't try and shoot people who are far away, if you could safely get closer to them. Also, don't shoot upwards, when you could be shooting downwards. And avoid shooting people through water. A normal champion's arrow will ding for 8, since crits are disabled in champions. But under these circumstances, an arrow will ding for -1, +1, up to -7, and up to -7. An easier way to increase your dings is to use a skill, such as long shot. As you can see, the normal bow kills the dummy in 3 shots. But the bow with the extra dings kills the dummy in 2. So surely a bow with even more extra dings will kill the dummy in 1 shot, right? Wrong. This is due to a phenomenon known as critical damage values. What are critical damage values? Well, critical damage values are where the total health of your target can be divided by the net health lost per arrow to get an integer value. You can't kill a target with X less shots until you've increased your net health lost per arrow through X critical damage values. This means there are large ranges of damage values which are essentially the same if you're trying to kill someone purely with a bow. This doesn't mean you shouldn't be trying to do as much damage as possible though, as while you may not benefit from it, your teammates would if they started attacking your target, and your target is going to be more crippled, so even if you don't kill them, they might still not be able to do what they want to do. Anyway, back to you. These critical damage values are actually quite useful, because the larger ranges make it very easy to work out how many arrows it would take for you to kill your target. In fact, if you say each arrow makes your target lose the same net amount of health each time, has the same charge time, and doesn't miss, you can convert your damage into the number of arrows you fired as a measure of the rate you're taking health away from your target, and then express the target's health as a number of arrows. Because I'm so kind, I've done this for you as a graph which you can find in the description. Now, what about in-game, where you can't spend ages doing calculations? Well, you can get a good estimate of how many arrows it will take to kill each class by converting their health into ding health, and then dividing that by how much your arrows are dinging for. Here are the ding healths of each class. You got Assassin with 28, Mage with 36, Ranger with 39. I usually tend to round this up to 40, because that means it takes 2 ding to remove half a heart, and it's very convenient doing it like that. Knight has a ding health of 50, and Brute has a ding health of 100, but it also takes plus 8 damage every time you ding it. So for example, if you're dinging for more than 25 damage, since 50 divided by 25 is 2, you'll probably kill the knight in 2 shots. And that's about it for damage. So to summarize, your damage is the rate at which you take health away from your target whilst shooting at it. It can be calculated with the formula net health lost divided by charge time. It can be approximated by arrows if the net health lost and charge time are constant for every arrow. You can quickly guess it by dividing the ding health of the class you're fighting by the average amount you're dinging for. It will increase when you are closer to the optimum charge time of 1.2 seconds, when your arrow is moving faster, if you have any skills which give you extra dings, if you're exploiting critical damage values, if your accuracy is better and your prediction is better. However, it will decrease if your target is more armored, has skills which reduce your damage, is able to regenerate their health at a faster rate, and when your arrow experiences more drag. Thank you very much for watching the video. Now, I know what you're thinking. Gravel, you said prediction will be the longest. Why are you giving me a half-hour long maths lesson? First of all, I really hope it's not half an hour long. Otherwise the video lengths are doubling, so I have to make the next one an hour long. Secondly, I'm sorry. The thing is, I'm making these videos one at a time, based on the old Ranger guide I said I'd make on Christmas Eve of 2016, and didn't finish it because I thought there was going to be a Champions update. So I've had to figure out the missing bits now, and it turns out a lot more was missing from damage than I expected. So basically, I've got no idea how long each episode will be. Anyway, put your feedback in the comments, and bye.